Thank you, Madam Chair. Chief, it's great to have you. And let me start with the Wildfire Disaster Funding Act, which I think most people believe is the biggest change in firefighting policy in decades. And in effect, for those who didn't follow it, it basically says we're going to fight the big fires from the disaster fund, and then we're going to liberate all that money to focus on prevention. We wrote it, all of us were involved in it, we wrote it in this room. So my first question is, what can you tell us, because this is the first year of implementing this transformative law, how's it going in terms of being able to liberate money to get at this backlog that Senator Manchin and Senator Heinrich and everybody else is asking you about? The backlog in my state alone is 2.5 million acres of NEPA-ready hazardous fuel and prescribed fire projects. So my first question is, how's it going in terms of the first year when we really ought to have new money liberated because we finally said we're not going to have this bizarre policy where we keep raiding the prevention money to fight big fires? How are we doing in terms of getting that money out of the disaster fund to go after the backlog?
Thank you, Senator. We do continue to appreciate very much Congress's significant support and leadership on this. And it was profound, and it is. The fire funding, well, thank you. Fire funding fix is profound. And I do have to clarify something. So it stabilized the Forest Service constrained budget. So we didn't have to, the 10-year average that we have to fund first with fire, that has been stabilized, as you know, to the 2015 10-year average. So we don't have that continued erosion. That is very helpful. The second part of the fire funding fix was because we have the disaster relief account now for the big fires, the chances of having to borrow mid-season are, reduced, practically won't happen. But the idea that we have gotten additional monies, that's what this conversation is about. That is the Appropriations Act. What we are doing in the Forest Service is to say, we're going to prioritize, we're going to be a good investment, and the funds that this budget process, this appropriation process gives us, we are going to put to good use, and you're going to see a good investment.
I'm very much for the new money, and that's why my colleagues' questions were good.
Yes.
I also believe that if you're no longer rating prevention, you can use prevention money to hit these targets, and I'd like to ask you to provide us month-to-month treatment targets for reducing hazardous fuels, at least in my state, but I think my colleagues are going to ask us as well. Can you do that? Give us month-to-month treatment targets for reducing hazardous fuels.
Yes, Senator. I might ask if we could do it quarterly because there's a little bit at play. We set quarterly targets is how we do it, but if you need month, we'll do it by month.
Great. I think because this is coming the fire season, if we could say the first couple of months we need monthly targets, and after that we'll do quarterly. Is that agreeable to you?
Yes.
Great.
And I would like to just point out that this budget does propose a $65 million increase in hazardous
I saw
fuels.
that. Okay.